Yeah, you mentioned some of the stuff might get missed or skipped out on.
As
Does it feel
in,
like you're focusing too much on one thing sometimes?
yeah, probably sometimes. Or I'm not given enough merit for like the opposite of what I'm trying to do. Do you know what I mean? So I might like sometimes say you said it's before, right? You said about the range bet boards. So I'm focused more on like I'm missing range bets, but then I'm maybe just betting too much the other side then to try and make up for it. I don't know if that's like a big significance because obviously I'm underdoing it, so um, it's probably not got much relevance to what I'm saying, but I am worried about that as well. But that's just lack of knowledge mainly, rather than anything else.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully the heuristics help a lot with that. So when you're looking at small blind limp call, for example,
Yeah.
it's not the message isn't just limp call more because
No,
that would be a
it's
problem.
yeah,
The
it's
message
like
is limp call these fucking hands and
yeah, yeah,
no
yeah,
more
yeah,
than
yeah.
these hands.
Yeah.
So, but honestly, it's pretty common. Like it happens to me sometimes. Basically, what you want to, or at least something that helps me visualize it is, it's like a pendulum that is either starting too tight or too loose,
Mm-hmm.
and it's unlikely that when it swings back towards the center, it's just going to stop
Mm.
perfectly.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah, yeah.
sometimes it doesn't quite swing far enough. Sometimes it swings too far, and you've got to readjust and bring it back, and then it goes a little bit the other way again.
Yeah.
But we're just trying to get it as close to what we think is a strong strategy as possible, and just make less mistakes than last time.
Yeah.
But as for maybe a small blind limp fold, it's a little bit too low for a week or two. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
It's probably not going to be like the second mistake you notice is unlikely to be as big as the first one. And we're just trying to increase our EV that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't worry too much. And I wouldn't be too concerned with just focusing on one topic because sometimes it can feel a little bit dull because you might stream a 8 hour session, Mark.
Yeah.
You might get two spots with that topic we've looked at.
Yeah. That's the another thing I was gonna bring up as well. You do it, especially with like the more niche it gets. Obviously, small blind versus big blind, you do play like a fair amount, but there will, like you said, there will be sessions where you don't have as many, um, and you feel like, oh, maybe I missed some that I wasn't thinking about or whatever as well. But yeah.
The only thing I like to do on that front is you don't have to activate the part of your brain that's basically solving that problem only when you get given that problem. So
Mm.
if let's say it's a little bit harder when you're streaming because you've just got less.
You got less
Well, you've
focus.
got more on your plate, you've got less focus
Yeah,
on each individual table.
definitely.
But if you find yourself in a little bit of a dip in focus, like you
Mm-hmm.
just feel maybe a little bit bored, you've got a few less tables, just think about, first of all, anytime you get dealt into the small blind, even if it's kings, I'm still going to be thinking about what the range looks like with the limb fold because that's my topic for the week.
Yeah.
You can do it for anyone as well. You don't need to do it just for you getting dealt in the small blind. You can fold the cutoff and then falls to the small blind. You can think about what he's going to be fit. You can do
Yeah.
it when nobody's folded the small blind. You don't have to. It just takes a little bit of extra presence and extra consciousness to do it. But
Yeah, and then once you fix the quote unquote autopilot, it gets better over time.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, Billy Bingo
exactly.
spoke about that previously, where he said like he tries to have a topic he focuses on each session. So like today I'll be focusing on turn probes or I don't know, fold into river bets or things like that. And he's just like every time he's in a spot where that happens, he's much more like aware, essentially.
Yeah, and I'll do that across multiple sessions. By the way, even though it's one topic.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I might spend, especially when the leagues get a little bit harder to find
Mm-hmm.
as you improve.
Yeah.
I might have a note on my uh, in the office workstation when I'm playing for might be 10 probe, might be small blind and fold. And I'll just fucking hammer it because I don't want to keep coming back to the same league every 6 months
Yeah.
because I think I've fixed it, but it hasn't reached that level of I've fixed it to the point where
Well,
I
you don't
don't
need
need to
to,
think
yeah, yeah,
about it.
yeah. Yeah.
When I can really think about it and I'm studying the ranges, like I'm studying the spot in my mind and I'm one tabling at the end of a stream, I can maybe find a limp call with like Jack 8 off.
Yeah.
But every time it falls to me and I've got 8 tables, I fold it.
Yeah.
You haven't learned anything really.
Yeah.
Or at least you've definitely learned
Do-
it. It's just that if you haven't learned at that level, it's not as.
Do you ever
fun.
you know when you're multi-tabling, do you ever
Yeah.
sometimes I pre-click the decision just so like I'm not timing out and it just makes it easier. So like say for example, right, you're in middle position, you got 7 deuce off, you just click fold. Like before it's got to you, you just tick the box for fold. Do you ever do that for the small blind because you assume it's going to be opened and then it folds to you? Because I think
You mean
I'm
with a hand which might play?
Yeah, but I think I'm guilty of that. It's never going to be a good hand, obviously, but it might be like, I don't know, a hand that like you probably could VPip, but I've just clicked fold before it's got to me. And that's a leak in itself, just doing that. Because I should only be doing that if I fold the hand when it folds to me, really. But I've definitely done
Yeah, I
that
wouldn't
previously.
pre-click a decision like that. Personally, I wouldn't pre-click.
Yeah,
I wouldn't pre-click a hand which might have a decision.
yeah, I think I've done that. It's not like a common mistake, but I've definitely done it a few times.
Yeah, I
But
mean, most of the time you're going to be fine, right?
yeah,
Most of the
yeah.
time it's going to be an open, but
Yeah,
5% of the time you're just going to fold a plus EV hand,
Yeah.
and that's even if it's worth a little bit.
yeah.
Let's say a limp was worth 0.5 big blinds, it's still going to
Yeah, adds up. Especially if I'm doing
worth
it
off
like
EV.
a couple of times a session or something.
Yep. So I wouldn't do it
Yeah.
personally.
But I've done that for like other spots as well, not just like small blind. I think I'm maybe too conscious on like time banging and things like that because I used to time out lots when I start streaming. But I mean, probably just playing too many tables to be honest.
Yeah, it's hard when you're playing a bunch of tables.
Mm.
That's not something. I mean, I did stream for a little bit, but I can't really give it as much credit as maybe it deserves. Because doing it long term and doing it for hours and hours a day, it's just a different beast. But
Yeah.
it just depends on what you feel that takes out of you. Like, how many tables is the stream worth for you? If you can figure that
Yeah.
out, you can probably
Yeah.
come up with a
Yeah.
decent answer for
Yeah.
how many you should play,
Yeah.
which is different to me. I can't really say.
Yeah. It'd be different for everyone, to be fair.
Right, let me just make a super quick post and then we can jump into
Yeah.
some hands. Right, so we looked at small blind limb folds. Just going to double check what we looked at earlier in the mark super quick.
Yep.
We looked at C-bet from EP. We looked at your button fold versus 3-bet, which looks good. I'm just going to double check that actually, very, very quickly. Can you see my screen?
Yeah. I can see it.
It's not the one. Where do we want? The reason I want to check this one super quick is because this one has popped up more than once.
Yep.
But it didn't pop up this time, which is really good.
Okay.
We'll fly through them super quick. Yeah, what do you think about this one?
I've had a look at some of these type of spots in the last month or so. Calling the free bets actually. When I'm in position, and I was quite surprised how much I should be calling. So I was definitely folding these mainly because in my head I was thinking like it just doesn't do well. I'm dominated and stuff, but when you look at his actual range and then the hands we're supposed to defend, I think it should be in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty close. It's probably the bottom. It's probably going to do some mixing. Sounds like it felt pretty close. That's the main thing. As long as we don't fold Queen Jack and as long as we don't play Queen 9, I'm pretty happy. Well, this is close. Like, you can play this. It's not a disaster, the VPip offsuit 10x there.
Okay.
Over this one.
It's quite shallow, this one is the only thing. And he should be quite polar, I think, off his stack size. A lot of his hands just jam. Like, he's should be a polar 3-bet, I think.
Yeah, pretty polar. He's probably not going to 3-bet like sevens like this. Or
Yeah, and I don't
eight
think this
bet
hand does well against that. I might be wrong.
So you just out with this one.
Yeah, if we were deeper, I'm like never folding this, but I think the shallow, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna get. I think it's gonna get easier to fold a hand like this when you're at 20, because you're gonna have some jams which come in. But most importantly, the raising range is just a lot tighter.
Yeah, so would you just not open this?
I would 100% open this. Yeah,
You would
definitely going to
still
be an open.
Yeah.
The question is, do we want to defend? It feels kind of close. Before we see a sim, I would defend, because it just feels like, even with the tighter open,
Yeah.
it's hard for the fold frequency against this size to get too crazy high. And I'm just thinking about what the range looks like, how it's shaped, which hands are going to come out.
What do you think
Yeah, go
his
ahead.
range looks like?
So his range, what does it look like, or what should it look like?
What should it look like?
What should it look like?
Yeah.
It should be very, very polar. So my range there might look like, I mean, even some of the bigger pairs can jam, but somewhere around jacks, maybe ace 10, ace jack suited. I think the offsuit combo will mostly want to jam, but ace king offsuit might be a non-all-in 3-bet.
Yeah.
You can do some kind of funky stuff with like 10-9 suited in this spot, where you can 3-bet non-all-in and then stack off, which sounds a bit ridiculous, but
Yeah.
it has its merits. But we can ignore that for now. So yeah, maybe like ace jack suited, pocket tens, pocket jacks. But again, a lot of those hands can jam. King queen suited might be reasonable. And then in terms of love, it's, like you said, it's going to be very polar. So
Just like king 4
hands
offsuit,
with,
something like that. Queen 5
yeah,
offsuit.
maybe even lower than that, given how shallow we are, given it's big blind button. It's
Yeah.
as polarized as it's going to get, really. So maybe like queen deuce.
Yeah. Okay.
Hands at the bottom of the calling range with a blocker, essentially.
Yeah. Okay.
You don't want to 3-bet king deuce suited. You don't want to 3-bet.
Yeah.
Jack
You're
ten.
primarily choosing like the offsuit stuff that when he jams, it's just like a snap fold,
Yeah,
and you're
super
happy
polar.
to just yeah.
Exactly. But the value range is not super wide, so you don't want to overdo it. Let's take the limps out. This doesn't look like a fucking disaster to me. I would lean towards call, but it doesn't
Okay.
look like a disaster. But if we just look at the range, we're probably, like I said, we're not going to be folding much more than 50%. And when you start pulling out like these
Yeah.
hands and pulling out offsuit
Yeah.
nines and
The
tens
suited
and
stuff will stay in more than like the offsuit, because when you have the offsuit, you just when he has a hand, he's just you just dominated. So the suit stuff's gonna perform better, no?
the offsuit probably perform quite well, actually, surprisingly. Main reason being is when you think about his bluffs, he's bluffing
Dominates the bluffs.
queen deuce offsuit. So having queen jack off's pretty powerful. Now, we block the bluffs in that case, but we also do very well against them. And the
Yeah.
fact that we're offsuits and the playability is lessened, it's not quite as much of a factor when we're shallow.
Yeah, because it's just like top pairs, just the nuts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We're not looking for a flush or a straight to stack off. When you're 200 big blinds deep and you've got 9
Yeah,
suited,
okay.
and then when he goes, that's what you're looking for. Yeah.
So would you I mean, it's tough, I guess, but I was gonna say, would you value like queen jack off more than 8-9 suited? I guess, yeah, right.
They both feel pretty close to me. I would defend both of them
Okay.
before seeing them.
Yeah. Okay.
But this is so this is at 20. Even queens is jamming. I say
Yeah.
around jacks, maybe
Yeah.
even tens, but queens is mostly jamming. But which hands can you 3-bet for value? It's like ace 10 suited plus, reasonable. Queens is reasonable. Like I said, there's some 10-9 suits sneaking in. Don't worry too much about those.
Yeah.
But the value range is very thin, so we don't bluff much. That's kind of the point. So this looks to me like a very easy spot to overbluff. So for me personally, I'm not looking to overfold here. Unless someone's got a 2% 3-bet after 300 hands, I'm defending.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Because basically, I think. Do you think in terms of this type of scenario, there's people who like would have no bluffs here in game? I mean, and then there's people who know how to bluff here, and they're probably going to be over bluffing because of how little it bluffs. So if they've
Yeah,
got
there's
if
going
they've
to be.
got a low 3-bet, you just like you said, you're not calling as much, and then if it's like reasonable, then this comes in because you think they're going to be over bluffing.
Yeah, I would just if I've got a good sample, I would just let go of some of the mixes.
Okay, yeah,
Some of the hands which feel really close, but we can
yeah,
take a look at what it looks like because it's going to be easier once you know what the range looks like to know what the bottom of the range looks like, right? So the fold frequency is 40%. It felt a little bit too high up to fold. You can see we've got a lot of these offsuit combos coming out. A lot of the ace X is staying around. I thought it would be like ace five's kind of competitive when you get shallow. I thought it would be like ace five, ace seven, but you see even ace four
yeah,
suited,
yeah. See, I
ace
would
four offsuit.
prefer to call. I would prefer to call 7-8 suited than that, for example. But like you said, top pair is just the nuts, and that's like uh, they're just always gonna put the money in, I suppose, on ace board with their bluffs, or they're gonna put money in at some point, you know.
Yeah, it just does nicely when the SPR is shallow
Yeah,
against a polarized range. He's not really three betting ace king, ace queen, ace jack, so we're not dominated really ever.
yeah, because he just jams.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so this one's a defense. It felt kind of close. Queen jack's mixing.
Yeah.
Or this one.
Yeah, this is another one that, like, now I'd say should just be straight in.
Yeah, I would defend this one. As probably the bottom. So 50 bigs.
Because you just
It
deeper
won't
and it
take us
plays
too
less.
much time.
Plays worse post flop, yeah. The deeper you get, obviously.
Yeah, I wouldn't like this is not a spot where you want to be defending ace four offsuit. The three bet's bigger. We're gonna defend the suited connectors over this for sure. Over ace like ace four offsuit, I mean. So that's
Yeah, it's
50 and
bottom.
that's bigger than a 4x and it's pure call. And this is smaller than a 4x.
Yeah.
So the stats are looking really good, but we're still missing a couple.
Yeah,
That's
missing
fine.
like the bottoms.
Probably a fold though, pre.
This king free, yeah, okay.
At 13. It's just going to get a little bit dicey as you get shallow. Let's take a look. I might be in. I don't think it's too bad. If you have limps, we're doing a lot of limping, but we've raised, so I'm assuming we don't. It is in. Nice one. I would have missed that one. I would have folded that one. Yeah, couple of hands, so I would probably run a drill or two, but
Yeah, for
overall,
button
pretty
versus free
good.
bet, yeah?
Yeah, button versus three bet.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on. We'll get into a new topic. I
Yep.
think. Is there anything you've been struggling with, or should we just crack on with
Um,
Europa?
nah, but like I say, mainly this stuff from like out position is probably the hardest in terms of like whether
Yeah.
I'm in big blind defending or I raise and get flatted when we go post flop. So like I said, I'm probably over checking those boards. I was definitely over c betting, and then I did. I can't remember who it was with now, but we did we did some studying, and it was like when you're out of position, you just check a lot. It was like late position versus late position mainly because ranges are wider and their range is tighter because obviously they've called the open. But now I'm probably overdoing the checks from early position versus MP or late position. So, but again, I haven't given those too much like beyond that. I haven't given them too much study, so I'm just in no man's land really, and that's just lazy on my behalf, to be honest.
Yeah, tell you what I'll do. I'll make a note for C-bet not position because that's a really good topic.
Mm-hmm.
I think I can bring you some value there. I think just looking at your win rates, your win when soft flop in the big blind's quite low, but your fold versus steal isn't. It doesn't communicate to me that we're playing very, very loose. Like we could still add more hands, and whenever you add more hands into a defending range, you're not gonna be able to defend those hands because they're always gonna be on the weaker side. Like you're gonna be able to defend them, but what I'd expect is just to give you an example. Actually, let me get this filter on. Filter off super quick. So if we go to your big blind fold to steal, at 40%, it's a little bit elevated.
Yeah.
And your one soft flop, it's pretty decent. Like 35 is good, but we can get that up for sure. When we add in more hands and drop this fold to steal, this one soft flop's probably going to drop, and it's already kind of on the low side. So
Okay. Yeah, because we're just gonna have
I think
weaker
that
hands in
explains why
defending range. Yeah.
yeah, it's hard. It's kind of hard post flop for your one soft flop to go up when you've got more jack three offsuit. It's kind
Yeah.
of fucking
Yeah.
difficult to do that. So Let me make a note of that. So we looked at big blind polls and 3-bet. So we missed 2, didn't we? We missed 9-8 suited.
9-8 suited.
That's 20.
Queen 10
3, yeah.
off.
Queen 10 was fine, I think. What was the other one? Ace 9 off.
Ace 9
At
off, yeah.
50 big blinds, that's 4x. Yeah. So for next time, keep an eye on C-bet out of position. And then we'll look at, again, unless there's something very specific you want to look at, I think big blind post flop. Just
Yeah. Well, it's going to be the one you play the most as well.
Position, when you've got a wide range, when your range is full of trash, it's easier to kind of, yeah, I think it's easier to manage. So
yeah, there'll be a lot, like there'll just be more leaks as well.
You get to look at a lot of topics as well. There's big blind probes, 10 probes. There's check raising. There's fold bears 10 c-bet, bears river c-bet. There's one of my favorite topics to look at, which is check call and then 10 checks through, and then we've got a river decision. Purely because the ranges get complicated, but there are systems, especially the guys who are.
I do find myself a bit lost on a lot of those, especially when top pair changes.
Right. You mean like an overcard comes or something?
Yeah. So like jack high board, they see bet, I call, check turn on like a brick, whatever, and then the river's like a king, for example.
Yeah. So do you want to look at that today then? So
yeah, if you want, yeah.
Check.
Because I'm just always unsure, one, how thin I want to go, and two, sizes.
So we called the c-bets. Let's get rid of this. Yeah, we can focus on.
And I think when you get lost,
parts of the range you want to bet, and then bet sizing if you like.
Yeah, because I think when you get lost in those spots, you tend to play your hand, which I know is like kind of the game, but also like I'll just be way unbalanced. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Any bet opportunity on the river. What am I trying to do here? So we want. We want to take the c-bet opportunity out on the turn. That's what we want. Okay, we'll dive in. See what it gives us.
Yeah.
I think we looked at this one, didn't we?
Yeah, the king queen, yeah.
So this one.
I think we looked at this one as well.
Oh, we did start with this topic actually last time for a little
Yeah.
bit, didn't we? Yeah, perfect. We can just continue with this. Talk through, how the turn and river is going to impact how we bluff, how far up we bluff. This was really well played though. Pretty close on the flop.
Yeah, this was when I essentially said like, oh, this is good turn, but then you said you just bluff with the bottom of what shows down. You went through this one last time.
Yep. Yeah, don't worry about how much showdown value you have. Just think about what's the bottom of your range. That's gonna.
Yeah. That's essentially what you said. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably fine. It's probably fine. Yeah, looks good.
Okay.
We bet one personally, but check's fine.
Sure. You bet one big blind on a river, would you?
Bet one, but there's no real difference there between bet one and check in terms of EV. I mean, it looks like a good idea to bet one when he has specifically a 9, but it's not.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just thinking there is a little bit of value to be had against jack 10s, 7s, 6s, ace 5, ace 9, queen 9.
Do you have one check raise flop or no? Just call this small.
Good question. I think when you're this shallow, it might be a little bit dicey. You might want to be a little bit more polarized. So maybe queen 6 with a queen of hearts. It's not
Okay.
stupid. Like if you check raise the flop, I wouldn't be like, don't do that. That's fucking ridiculous. Like if
Yeah,
you have a
yeah.
good start and a strong flush draw, it's fine. I would just lean towards call. Oops. Get rid of this.
So you want to like, because basically if I check raise and then he puts more money in, I'm like in a bit of an awkward spot where it's like queen six, we just fold and it's fine. This hand's like too much in the middle, is what you're saying, yeah?
That's what it feels like to me. Yeah.
Okay.
But I wouldn't. It kind of depends on what happens. I wouldn't want to be check raise folding the queen of hearts anyway.
Okay.
33. I'm going to run it in the AI, but there's not much raising, so you don't need to be. You can afford to be selective. Like it's using queen 5 there over queen 6, which is interesting. I guess it's just because it's a really good board room position. He's under the gun, so it's a strong range. So I like some of these 5x combos. I'm probably underdoing it with these and overdoing it with like 7-6 personally.
Mm.
Probably overdoing it with like I said, queen 6 with the queen of hearts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not stupid, but mostly calls.
Yeah. Okay.
Ace of hearts is in there a bunch with the low kickers. I think 10 is kind of hard to lead. I don't think it would be ridiculous, but it's just difficult. So I'm glad you
I
checked.
wouldn't lead the turn, I don't think. With anything.
So how do you think about the river in general? So I know it's a what is mono, but what's the thought process?
I think we just have the best hand a lot, to be honest.
Not with this hand, Mark, just generally speaking, like with your entire range.
All
Like,
right. He never has a flush. Can he have a straight? I mean, he can probably have straights. I just think he's quite capped when he goes. I know it's mono, so he should be going small on flop anyway. But then turn, he caps himself when he checks back, I think. And I know I have a lot of flushes, but he should probably still have some decent hands on the turn though that don't want to bet and like face check jam or check raise. So you can still like I think he can still have a king. He can still have like ace jack. He can still have pocket eights, obviously. But I think, yeah, given his line, I think he is going to be fairly capped. And then for us, well, I mean, in the big line, we got a lot, I think. We can still have flushes, although some of them want to check raise flop. We can have all the straights, I think. Not 10-7, maybe. He doesn't have 10-7 either. I think we can have queen 10. I think we can have 6-7. And yeah, I got like infinite 2 pairs.
Do you have a system for helping you figure out which hands need to bet and which hands need to use certain sizings at the minute, or is it mostly hand related?
Yeah, this is the part I struggle with, I'd say.
Yeah.
I'd say I try and factor in one is range on the turn, and then how the river, specifically when it goes check check turn, I mean, and he's bet the flop, and how the river interacts with his range. More so than mine, I think, which may be a mistake. But yeah, I think I'm probably, especially when I'm multi-tabling, I'm probably playing my hand too much.
Yeah. I mean, when you play your hand, the main problem is sometimes you're just going to get the wrong answer.
Yeah. No,
But
yeah,
sometimes
no.
you're going to get the right answer, and you're going to get away with it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's the same with any part of the game tree when it comes to, like, we looked at your C betting from early position, right?
Yeah.
Hands you were checking were pretty reasonable. It's ace queen high on a king high board. It's pocket sevens on king 10-9, whatever it might be. The problem is when you don't attack the problem from the context of the range. That's when you make mistakes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like if you kind of know what I'm doing, it's quite easy to play against, generally. But I think I think like you said, I think it's quite common problem.
I mean, maybe, but I wouldn't be too concerned with that personally. I'm not concerned with playing my range here because I'm worried about getting exploited. I'm just trying to make the best decision with each part of the range, and specifically the hand. When we come to the conclusion, the range wants to do X, Y, Z. You know, we can start with the range. That's step one. Usually with the thought process, we go range, and then we can transition to step two, which is the hand class, which is basically second pair, right?
Yeah.
And then we think about the combo. So the combo is the Queen of Hearts and the Jack of Spades. Second pair with the Queen of Hearts. That's the specific combo. But I'm always starting with the range. I'm always thinking about the hand class next.
Yeah, because you might
And
have a
then the
spot where
combo.
like you just check range, so you don't really need to think about. Probably not on the river, to be honest. But like starting with that seems the most logical.
Yeah, I'm gonna apply that to pretty much any spot. It's not river specific,
Yeah.
but you're right. On the river, it's gonna be unlikely you check
Yeah, yeah.
range with this specific line, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because sometimes your hand wants to bet, but if it's a range check or a range bet,
yeah,
it really doesn't
yeah.
matter. So you might have heard of BBZ's river simplifications stuff.
No. Maybe I
If
have,
you
but
haven't,
not
we'll go
not that I
through it.
can think of. Pardon?
It's all good. We'll go through it now.
Yeah, yeah.
It's really easy, super easy. So we'll pull up the Get or Notepad. So what really helps, what's consistent in terms of a strategy, is just breaking the range into chunks
Yeah.
and trying to figure out where this hand sits in it when we go down through step 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
So first part of the range we're going to think about is just the nuts. So that's the first one. The second one is strong value. The third part is weak value or bluff catches. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, for example, here that would be, ace five suited would be weak value.
Yeah.
Which, like, maybe I could get a little bit of value, but it feels just kind of shitty. I kind of just want to check that kind of hand.
Yeah.
And then four is just there. So four would be ace six with a heart.
Yeah.
With the ace of hearts.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
bottom of the range, just the air. Sometimes the air is not air, which is why poker's fucking hard on the river when ranges are wide and it's
Like in
complicated.
that
and
10-3
odds
hand,
change.
yeah.
Exactly. So in that spot, 10-3 would be what category if we go back?
Yeah.
That's going to be a really good
Yeah,
one to use, actually. So in this specific hand,
Oh no,
what would 10-3 be?
probably weak value on a non-heart. I don't know actually.
No, I agree. I think it's a good
But I
answer.
think if the river's the 6 of hearts, it changes.
Yeah, it's going to drop perfect. So when the board fills out in a way that removes hands from this section,
And put
that's
some
when
yeah.
hands that go from category 3 to category 4,
Yeah.
they drop down in terms of the value, and that's when you start bluffing pairs. Is when all of the hands which would be in category 4 have filled out essentially.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I would say this is category 3. What would you generally do with this block of hand on the river? This type of hand?
Block essentially, yeah. Or you're just trying to get the showdown as cheap as possible, really.
Yeah. What else? So what else would you do?
Check.
Apart from block? Check. Yeah, nice. So sometimes you can block, but most of the time what you're going to do is check.
Yeah.
What should we do with air mostly?
Check or bluff. Probably bluff.
We
though.
should bluff.
Yeah.
We should bluff. So this is where we're going to see mistakes, is we're going to be checking this part of the range. That's going to be one of the main...
So you just bluff all your air
HC.
when it goes check, check, turn.
You don't bluff all the air if you have too much.
Yeah,
But
okay,
generally,
yeah.
the bottom of the range is going to do
Yeah.
a lot of betting. Let me change this. So this is just going to be bet. I'm going to change this to checks. So most of the time you're going to check
Yeah,
these types
okay,
of
yeah.
bluff matches. Sometimes bet. But we'll keep that as check for now. You can bet these hands. Like you can bet 1. You can bet, 10%, 20%. But most of the time you're going to be checking these hands. Strong value is just a hand which gets a lot of value but can't check raise. So it's not strong enough to check raise.
Yeah, but so
and
it's
gets
just
back in,
like
but
bet.
it gets value. So on this board, do you want to give me an example of like a category 2 hand? Like a hand which can value bet but can't really check raise?
Trying to think of hands that wouldn't check as flop as well. Like Queen 10?
Top
Okay.
pair, yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah. Those hands are mostly going to bet.
Yeah.
So your strong value, which can't check raise, mostly, if you don't know what to do, is just going to bet.
Yeah.
This is the second area which I'll see the most mistakes from. Just too much checking from this block.
Yeah.
I was just checking earlier if I had PO, because I've got a nice little toy game there, but it's not installed on this PC, which sucks. But essentially, what you see when you run a toy game
Yeah.
and you remove all the blockers, because when you're playing an actual poker hand, there's a lot of blockers. It's fucking complicated. It's annoying. Small differences in the ranges change things in a way where you go, that doesn't work how I thought it should. What the fuck's going on? And it's just because the solver can be quite intricate with its blocker interactions. When you remove all the blockers, this is what you see. You
Yeah.
see the bottom of the range betting, you see the weak value hands checking and then bluff catching against bets. You see the strong value pure betting, and you see the nuts. What do you think the nuts do?
Either bet big or check for check raise.
Yeah, nice. Perfect. Mix. They mix. So the nuts is going to mix. Sometimes it's going to drop into a bunch of different sizes. Sometimes it's going to pure bet. But generally speaking, because the nuts can check raise, you're going to see that category of hand check sometimes. So the
Yeah.
best hands in the range, like King 10, for example, on average, if we use our system, is gonna mix. It can bet, it can check. It's not to say King 10 in this spot will bet or check. It's just that with this
Yeah.
approach,
Would it
most of the time
favor
we're gonna be screwed.
would it favor like King 10 betting because it unblocks the pairs than a hand like, I don't know, it's hard to get to river with, I don't know, sixes. No, because sixes unblocked. I don't know. Maybe just ignore
Like
that, I
Queen Jack or
suppose.
something.
Yeah. But then I was thinking, like, do you check raise Queen Jack? Probably not. I don't know.
Yeah, so that's where the blockers come into play, and it gets a little bit more complicated.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, the top of the range is going to mix. The
Yeah.
strong value wants to be betting, so Jack X wants to be blocking on this board. Queen X wants to be betting. 3X wants to be checking, so that's this category, and then Air wants to bet. So your Ace 10 with a heart, or 5-4 hearts. So
Yeah.
this system, mix, bet, check, bet, is going to give you a really good answer a lot of the time when you're stuck. If you're not sure, just go for whichever
Yeah.
option you think applies to your hand. Now, the tricky part is sometimes it's figuring out which category does my hand fit into. Is it a category 2 strong value, or is it a 3?
Yeah.
Is it Air? I don't worry too much about that just yet. So going back to Queen Jack, for me, it could be 2, it could be 3. It's easier for it to be bet if we use a really small size, because it doesn't feel like it's worth too much to me personally.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's Queen Jack. Yeah, it likes block, but you can see Jack 10's kind of close. So you can see it's right on the line. And I'm not too concerned that you nail the very perimeter and find out which combo's mixing. It's more important that you just don't check King 6. Like, this is category 2 on this run out when he's checked back to 10, because he might have some flushes, but he's mostly capped.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I see a lot on these rivers is someone has King 4 suited in
And
the
you just let him show down Jack 10.
Yeah, it just sucks.
Yeah.
You just can't be checking King X on this run out. I know it's a scary board, but
Yeah.
it doesn't have much Queen 10. There's not many pocket eights most of the time. But don't worry too much about any of that shit. Don't worry about trying to guess what he has, because we don't really know. We can put him on a range, but if you implement that strategy with your range, you're going to print money in these spots.
Yeah.
Oops. Just hopefully this kind of sim gives us some ideas which back up what I've just said, because sometimes it doesn't. It makes me look like a fucking idiot, which happens. Sometimes you make mistakes, but thankfully the King X block is betting.
Yeah.
Mostly. So that's our top pair block. So that's category 2. Flushes are mostly betting, but there's a little bit of mixing in there. And then straights are kind of doing a little bit of everything, kind of mixing. So the top of the range is mixing, but this block, this category 2, is what I'm getting at when I say strong value.
Yeah, it just bets. Yeah.
So we've got category 2 there. This is actually a pretty nice sim to use. So this is category 2. This is category 3. And you can see it's getting a little bit murky further down. So like low pairs and ace highs are a little bit dicey, like deuces is bluffing. 3s and 4s are bluffing. And then when you get the no made hand, we just pure bet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you
Which
can
obviously
kind of
there's not that
see.
many hands in no mid hand, but yeah,
Yeah,
makes sense. Yeah.
but that's why we bluff here. So no made hand.
Yeah.
The board's filled out. Like, what are you going to bluff with on this run out? God, God forbid this was the eight of hearts on the river. Now you've really got no bluffs. But we might check a lot there. So again, when you consider
But
you
then
only
you
have
start
certain
turning
value as bluffs.
the bottom pair into a bluff. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're bluffing some ace highs. We're bluffing some low pairs. You can see 5x is being used.
Yeah. Well, even even when it's not the eight of hearts, still bluffing the bottom pair.
But that structures what I'm looking for on the river,
Yeah.
essentially.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I've
So
not seen that
where's
before,
it?
so that's a good one.
Yeah, a little bit dicey. This is dicey. Let me take a look at this. So it's 40. So we're quite deep, which is a problem, but it is a min raise.
Yeah.
Let me double check this one. What do you think about that one? Actually, just seeing it again. Jack 4 suited for 40.
Yeah.
3.2 is
Kind
odds,
of agree with you, to be honest.
but it is a min, which is important.
Like,
This
seems a
might be
bit
a little
shit.
bit kind of close. Looks all right.
Mm.
Too concerned. Just call. Nice. Yeah, looks good. Right. What do we think?
Check. Or one, but check.
So where do you think? So you check. Where do you think this hand sits in the range?
3.
So this is where it gets tricky because this feels like a 2 to me. Feels like a low 2. High 3.
Yeah.
So why does it feel like a 2? What's he going to do on the turn with his King X?
Yeah, he's definitely betting King X one turn.
That's not to say he can't check King 6 clubs, but what's he mostly going to do? He's mostly going to bet.
Yeah.
Right?
He's just called by way too many worse hands. And he protects.
What can he do with even like Ace Queen? He
Yeah, I think he can bet as well. I don't. Yeah, I think he can definitely bet. I think there are definitely players who check his queen on turn, but they might also check his queen on the flop. To be honest.
Yeah, maybe, but it's pretty close. That's in and around where his value range is, right? That's what we're trying to figure out. So when we get there, when we get to the river, we don't really lose to King X.
Yeah.
We don't really lose to Queen X. It's Ace Queen Queen Jack when he has it.
Yep.
What do we lose to? Which fills out on the river because when he checks back the 10 on this board, now he is capped. Okay.
Yeah.
I know we're shallow. He might have kings with a spade, but for the most part, he's not checking aces. He's not checking King 10. He's not checking 5s or 4s. He's mostly capped. Now the river does reintroduce some hands, which we're concerned about. Spades, but what do we have in our hand? We have a spade. So which combos of Queen X, when we want to value bet, are going to be more inclined to bet?
This
Probably
one,
spades. So we don't really lose to a king. He might have Ace Queen, but I think for me I would bet Ace Queen a lot on the turn because we're quite shallow. We should check raise a lot of King X, so Ace Queen's very high up for him.
Yep.
We block the flush. He can have Ace 3 suited, but again I think he should probably barrel the turn. He might have deuces, but he's mostly capped.
Yeah.
Apart from a couple of flushes which we block. So I would always bet this.
Yeah.
I would always block this. And I wouldn't even go 1, I would go just 1/3. And now I would call. For sure.
I hope I didn't jump.
I just don't see how the fuck we lose.
Yeah.
Like, how do you lose here?
Yeah. I don't like this fold. Especially after everything you said. I don't like this fold before you said anything, but yeah. Now you said stuff. Yeah. No, it makes sense. Yeah. I think that's probably me just not splitting it down quick enough in game and then just knowing where I am in my range. But this is an odd one though because like even for me this seems like a fairly like trivial just call. Mistakes like this often happen due to too many tables probably. Yeah. Yeah, you might be right, mate. Yeah.
Take a look. So again, it's not to say the solver is going to pure bet this combo. I'm not concerned that that's going to be the case. My main concern is that on average, this decision to check I think is going to cost us EV.
Yeah.
That's my main concern. I'm not too concerned what the solver says about the specific spot. Yeah, I would just block.
Yeah. I think though, like obviously I said check. If I'm checking, I need, like you said, I need to check call.
Because what we're doing when we turn a hand which can get value, like this, when you turn this into a bluff catcher, you're basically just taking the EV of that hand and throwing out the window.
Yeah.
You're turning a value bet into a bluff catcher which wants to fold.
Yeah.
Because we don't really beat that much value.
I can't. I'm pretty shocked, and I know they folded this.
Yeah. What are you going to do with King X on the river?
Bet. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's category 2. So unless we have a couple of combos which can check raise, which we should have, because we want to check raise some of the nut combos, right? If we have King 6 of spades, we might want to check raise.
Yeah.
What are we defending against this size? And keep in mind, if his value is...
Yeah.
I know you can have some ace 3 and flushes, but we don't need to be that fucking
This seems
scared.
like one of the best ones to check call if I am checking it.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. That's why I'm I'm shocked I folded it.
So I think his value betting range there is probably a lot of ace queen, and having a queen when that's the case is pretty good.
Yep.
Solver might disagree. It is checking. It's kind of close. Which sizing does it want to bet? Wants to bet the spade. We'll give it some different sizings. King X is betting, by the way. You said you'd bet King X, which is really good.
Yeah.
We'll give it a bunch of sizings. Or pot. It does look like the spade is enough to be concerned about.
Yeah, it's better now.
So you can bet, you just need to bet pretty small. I would have bet too big there. I would have bet like 25 and made a mistake. But when we check, we're checking the check call. That's why we check. You can see the spade, and it's not really close. The spade's worth a lot more. Because what's the value betting on the river when it's not ace queen or ace 3 suited? It's a flush, right?
Yep.
So you can see the difference there between even the best combo of queen 10, where that doesn't have a spade, is worth 0.14, and the worst combo with the spade's 0.6. That's a big fucking difference. So we can check. The check was good. I wouldn't have checked. I would have bet.
Okay.
But it does check call, and it's worth 60 big blinds per 100. That's a lot of money.
Yep.
We can't fold this.
Yeah.
Let's change that deuce so the spade pulls out. I think it might be a little bit easier to value bet. Now it can bet 25. You can see how when the river doesn't reintroduce strong hands, it's a little bit easier to value bet.
Yeah, because now he's got less hands that we lose to, yeah, essentially.
Yeah, that's why King X is now like, I'm all in, bro, for 2x pot.
Yeah.
Because you don't have a better hand. You've checked the turn with a capped range. The deuce is a blank. I'm all in.
Yeah.
Yeah, the accent's here to stay, Tunisian, so we've got to turn that volume up for you. Maybe we can get some subtitles in from one of the boys. We'll pay them.
Why is it checking King 7, King 6? Is that just because it's one of the weaker kings and it checks to check call, yeah?
This is just going to be one of those blocker interactions which is hard to predict. I think because King Deuce is jamming. So it's not because it doesn't get enough value.
King Deuce 2 pair though.
Sorry.
King 3, yeah.
King 3, not King Deuce. So King 3 can jam.
Yeah.
Actually, that's betting like 150. So it's not that King 7, King 6 can't.
Yeah, that's it. Because King 3 blocks Ace 3 as well, though, yeah? So, like, that's where the blocking, yeah.
It's interesting, actually. I wonder if we check shove King... I guess King 6 does actually lose a little bit, so it might just be that it is just check jamming.
Yeah, that's mad, isn't it?
So it's not because it's too weak, which that's kind of what it looks like, right? It's just
because
the blockers interact. I think it's because it...
It unblocks his bluffs, yeah. But then does it get called by worse when it checks jams?
It kind of has to, because the range is capped. So when you look at the low jack betting range, when it bets 6 and the pot's 15, when the big blind shoves 21...
Yeah, he just has 7 def on the river. Just has to
You
defend.
can't just fold everything. You can't just say, all right, I'm going to fold ace queen. Your range is fucking ace queen. Like, you need to call ace queen,
Yeah.
bro. There's no fives in there to call.
Yeah,
So,
fairs.
so you bet this kind of weak capped range with ace queen and queen jack and king 7, king 6. What are you going to defend? Probably going to be a lot of king x, to be fair.
Yeah, it's just a lot of his 6x, 7x bets a turn, I assume, is it?
That's the range against jam. Now, what are you going to do with the queen when you face a jack raise when that's your range? To call sometimes? You need to call sometimes. Nice. I'll probably bet one again. Yeah, I would call.
But
That's
this is
fine.
like, this is what I mean though. Like, I've called this river and then I folded the queen 10, which this seems like a harder call than the queen 10 that we just had, where I check folded the river.
Yeah, I think they're both going to be calls because we just block where the value is coming from.
Yeah.
He should probably value bet 7x now.
Yeah.
'Cause we should value bet jack x, so a hand like king 7 is
Yeah.
strong enough. Which is kind of why I'd bet one.
Yeah.
Because it's worth a little block, but yeah, it's pretty standard. I think it looks fine. Again, probably going to block.
Yep.
I don't mind these checks though because the board on each of these spots is kind of difficult.
Yeah.
Because the board usually, like the mono board was kind of tough. The board's got a flush here, so he has a lot more 10x when he checks back the turn here than if it was a deuce of clubs.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I think I am getting better at those, like noticing where he should barrel turns. I'm probably still way off, but I think I'm getting better where like I can eliminate some hands which I probably wasn't doing before.
Mm-hmm.
Like
it's
you say,
easier on this
doesn't-
board for him to have like Jack 10.
Yeah. Whereas if it's like you said, deuce of clubs, it's just betting a 10.
What size does he bet on the flop? He bets really small, right?
Yeah.
Which I'm not a huge fan of. I guess if he's betting range, 33 is pretty good. Tell you what, we'll finish with this one.
Yeah.
We'll take a couple of notes, then we'll call it there. Deuce of hearts. Again, I just want to kind of explore the river strategy because what we're going to see again is a 10's just not going to check. But again, you see 10's getting checked a lot. I think this is kind of close because he is opening a hijack range, so he does cover a lot of suited 7x, which is going to check a lot. The fact that we have 8-7 and not king 7, I think makes it a little bit harder.
Yep.
Solver doesn't give a fuck. It's just like 7x is betting, bro.
Yeah.
We betting 7x. So this is...
And
again, this would probably be that category 2.
Yeah.
What do we do with this block of hands? We just bet.
Yeah.
We just do a lot of betting. So we can we might be able to recognize here that, okay, checking might be reasonable because the turn brings in a flush. But again, if I'm not sure, I'm just going to bet.
And what size would you go on a river?
I would have B25 personally before seeing the sim. It likes 40. It's worth more than 25, but I would just win 25.
Yeah. So is he in this line? Is he supposed to be checking some 10x on turn then? No. Or not enough, I suppose. That he doesn't have enough hands that we don't bet a 7 by the looks of it. Yeah, he still bets 10.
Solver's not checking any. I might have checked like 10-8 and diamonds too much, or like 10-9 too much.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's still using B40, so it's worth a lot of money to block.
Yeah.
Save some money.
Yeah.
You should always put the river, obviously. He kind of butchered it.
Yeah.
You can kind of forgive his turn check. I don't think it's crazy, but the river check's just a disaster.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can see he pushes our bet, but straight kind of doing a little bit of mixing. Sets the mixing a little bit with this block again. This category 2, where we see 6. This block of hands just needs to be in the betting range.
Yeah, so river bets when it's gone, bet check, and then Sommy.
And there's our category 3, the bluff catchers, the 4x. Yeah. Betting 4x is a little bit dicey.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, those
we go
that
on-
1, 2, 3, and 4 split is very good. I've not actually seen that before. It seems like when you talk about it, it seems simple, doesn't it? But I think if you've not like looked into these, then easy to miss.
Yeah, I agree. The tricky part's just figuring out which block of where the hand fits.
Yeah.
basically.
Obviously, the top and bottom's like pretty self-explanatory. It's the middling hands deciding where they go.
Yeah, and you're always going to see, like, if you dive into some sims, you're always going to have some blocker interactions, which kind of fuck the system up a little bit. But it's going to happen less often than the system just being pretty consistent, and that's what we want. We want something that works consistently.
Yeah.
That we can always go to when we're a little bit lost, and when we've got a sim or a problem that we haven't solved before, which is everything.
Yeah. No, that was a good one.
It's like 99% of the sims. But yeah, let's call it there, Mark.
Yeah.
Hopefully that was useful.
Thank you very much, mate. He's got his own Discord server as well, so if you are interested in joining that, he obviously does coaching for other people as well. So if you wanted one-on-one coaching, you can get in touch with him. But in his server, like I said last week, he's got pretty good. Give you a little rundown. He's just got like general stuff, people talking about sharing good videos, whatever. Hand reviews, probably the best section if you're joining, like people just posting hands, which one I posted. And then, everyone giving good feedback. Loads of people in here now. A lot of good players. So if that's what you're keen on, you can get involved there. And then obviously he does coaching, like I said, which is his main... a reason if a couple of people join. But yeah, if you don't, if you're not interested in coaching right now, but you're just looking to get a bit better with a bit of free study, I suppose, then this is good. And also, obviously I just went live here. He'll post that he's gone live with me, but he's also doing live sessions with Craig, Connor, and stuff like that. So, and he does occasionally stream himself. So, yeah, probably worth joining if you're looking to get better or whatever.